In the previous video, we added 3 photos to a quick page and trimmed them to fit within the windows. In this video, you'll complete your page with a title and journaling, plus learn how to add embellishments and the all-important shadows to help them look layered and real. Let's go. With our photos already set, let's work on some embellishments. Target the quick page layer in the Layers panel first. That way, everything we add to our page will stack above our quick page layer and not be hidden from our view. Second, select the Move tool if not already active. We'll use the Move tool to drag and drop our elements into the workspace. Now let's go grab some elements. Go to File, Open, and navigate to the TDP Prism, EP, or Elements folder. You're welcome to choose elements that match your vision for the page, but for my demonstration, I'm going to select the pink prism flower, the one with the white center, the teal everyday flare, and this cloth prism tab. Now, as I look for them, I'm going to hold down the Command key on the Mac or the Control key on the PC to target all 3 at the same time, just like the photos. Select all 3, click Open, and they open all at once. Flare, tab, flower. Then use the Move tool to drag and drop the flare, the flower, and the chevron flag into the layout. 1, 2, 3. So with our Move tool still active, let's first reposition the layer so our pieces are above one another in a specific order. For the flower to lay on the little ribbon flag, the flower should be higher in the Layers panel. That means it's above it. For the flare to lay on top of the flower, well, the flare will need to be higher in the Layers panel, not below it. So it should be quick page, flag, flower with the flare on top. Now click on the actual elements in the workspace. Flower, flare, flag. With the Move tool active, we can move the cloth flag. I'm going to place it right here, just above my little tag here on the quick page. And then let's rotate this flag so that it's up and down and not going left to right. Let's zoom in so we can see our change a little bit better here. To zoom in, you can go to View, Zoom In, or you can hold down the Command key on the Mac or Control key on the PC and hit the plus sign. This will zoom you into your layout. To zoom out, Command or Control and the negative sign. So zoom in, zoom out. Command plus to zoom in, and we'll use our mouse to move over in your window there so you can see your screen. And we're going to rotate this. With the bounding box active, hover your mouse on the corner where you would usually get the diagonal cursor. This time we're looking for the arrows that curve. We use these arrows to rotate. So you click and circle around. Drag your mouse around and it will start to move. Here's the thing. It arbitrarily moves around to any angle. What we want is it to be perfectly up and down. So because it was horizontal, hold down the Shift key and this will rotate it in 15-degree increments. So we can go from 0 degrees to 90 degrees, holding down the Shift key and let go. And that will give us that perfect up and down rotation. Click the checkbox to confirm the rotation and let's slide it into position here. I'm going to zoom out by using Command or Control minus sign and then Command or Control 0 to fit back on screen. So we've got the flag in position. Let's move the flower right on top of that flag. And it's a little large. So we can reduce it down just like we do photos, so it doesn't take up so much space. Now, if you want to leave your flower as big as it was, that's perfectly fine. And then click the green checkbox to confirm that change. And let's bring over the flare, which I'm going to place directly over the flower. I'm going to reduce the size down just a tad, so it looks like it fits right in the center of that flower there. And click the green checkbox. And by layering all of the pieces on top of one another, we've created an embellishment cluster. Finally, let's link the objects in the cluster together so they move as a unit. In my layers panel here, I'm going to select the top of the cluster, the flare layer. Then hold down the Shift key and target the bottom of the cluster, which is the flag. Holding down the Shift key allows me to target the range of layers in between them and select them as a group. So I didn't have to click on the flower layer. I clicked on flare, I clicked on flag, and held the Shift key down while I clicked. And that gave me a range of layers in the layers panel. Finally, click on the link icon in any one of the targeted layers, the link icon here. And you'll see that all of the targeted layers linked together. If I click on the quick page is by itself. But if I click on the flag, the orange highlight on the link tells me it's linked with all three of these layers. This is a best practice for working with, again, a layout with multiple layers. If you want to move the cluster later, for example, you can grab any single layer rather than having to weed out the layers you need, and you can move this cluster around. Say if you wanted it here or here. I'm going to put mine right back there. So this is not so necessary when you have a layout with a few layers, but it becomes oh so necessary when you have lots of clusters or lots of photos and lots of stuff in your layers panel. Embellishments, especially digital ones, need depth. And thankfully, the photo editor provides presets with depth already in mind. We call them drop shadows. Let me show you how to add them right now. First, let's target the flare layer in the layers panel. Next, we'll need to switch panels to view the drop shadow presets. To do so, click on the Effects panel icon here in the workspace. Clicking on the panel opens the Effects panel, which include a number of stylish options to add creativity to any digital project. To find drop shadows, visit the Styles menu and then select Drop Shadows from the Styles menu drop-down. And lo and behold, these are the drop shadow presets. Let's look at a few. By double-clicking on any shadow, our flare is updated with the preset. Let me zoom in so you can see it. And there's the shadow. Hovering over any preset with our mouse allows for a tooltip to pop up and tell us exactly what the preset does. So we have outline, soft edge, noisy, neon, low, fill outline, hard edge, and high. I'm going to choose low for my flare. Gives it a nice strong shadow, looks like it's dimensional. But this drop shadow could use some fine tuning. I mean, it looks cool enough, but you can adjust it, and here's how. Return to the Layers panel by clicking on the Layers icon here at the bottom of the right of the workspace. Then take a look at the flare layer. An italicized FX icon has appeared, indicating that an effect has been applied to this layer. Double-click it. The Style Settings menu will open, and here we can adjust the drop shadow's size, distance, and opacity and color. And this is where your personal preferences come into play. Do you want the shadow to appear really strong or kind of faded out? Do we want the distance to look like it's sitting far, far away from the background, or should it not sit so far away from the flower? Do we want the shadow to appear really small and not at all, or do we want the shadow to appear darker and deeper? Every shadow is going to be different for each little piece of object that you create, and your preferences are going to change. But here are some things that I recommend. Change the color of the shadow to a nice deep brown. You can do that by first clicking on the little box here in the style settings, which will open up the color picker. The color picker is really cool because you can click different colors within to change colors. But for our shadow, we're going to want to drag the slider on the color wheel here to a nice little orange and choose a brown for the shadow. Then click OK. That's one way to customize it. You can increase the size. I'm going to leave my size to 35 pixels. You can also type in by hovering your mouse right over the little numbers, the values, and I'm going to type 20 for distance. I'm going to leave my opacity at 80%. Finally, I'm going to change my lighting angle. The lighting angle of a shadow basically says exactly where is the sun positioned and where is the shadow. You can use the dial and say, okay, my sun is coming from this angle, 135 degrees, and so the shadow is going to start to form over here on this side. The typical shadowing lighting angle is 120 degrees. A lot of people use that. I prefer a 45 degree angle. So the lighting angle comes from this side and ends up here. And you'll notice that the shadows that are already provided on this quick page are also at 45. So let's match that. So the lighting angle is at 45. The drop shadow is set to 35. The distance is set to 20. And the opacity is set to 80%. Then click OK. And we have a shadow on our flare. To add a shadow to our flower, we could target the layer in our Layers panel and then go to the Effects panel, but I'm going to show you a little quick trick right now that makes life so much easier. Go back to your flare layer and right-click, and you'll get a drop-down menu, a little pop-up menu with options for your layer. Here we can rename our layer, duplicate our layer, delete our layer. But what I want you to focus on is Copy Layer Style. This is going to copy that drop shadow setting to your clipboard basically. And then you can click on the flower layer, right-click, and select Paste Layer Style. And an FX layer style will hop right onto your flower. That way you don't have to return back into your effects unless you want a specific shadowing effect applied to the flower. So here is my flower without the shadow. And here it is again with the shadow. Looks so much better, doesn't it? Click on the effects to open the style settings menu. And here I could adjust the size again if I want my flower to appear just a little bit bigger from the background or more dimensional. I'm going to increase my flower drop shadow size to 60. The distance, I'm going to set it to 40. I'm going to leave the opacity at 80%, and I'm not going to change the color of the shadow. And click OK. I can right-click on my flower again, or I'm going to right-click on my flare. Copy Layer Style, click on the flag, right-click again, and select Paste Layer Style. And now I have a shadow on my flag, on my flower, and on my flare. If I wanted to customize the flag shadow, I would click on the layer style effects little icon there and play around with it, but I'm going to leave it the same. And there we go. My embellishment cluster looks nice and dimensional. And use Command 0 or Control 0 to go back and look at what I've done. Now you can add additional embellishments and shadows to further customize your page. I would recommend putting something right here if you wanted to add a little bit more fun and pizzazz to your page, but it's completely up to you. The only thing left that I'm going to do for my page though is add a simple title and some journaling. So let's add some text. I'm going to click on the topmost layer in my layers panel, that way the text is above all of the embellishments. And I'm going to choose the horizontal text tool as you guys have seen before in the tool panel. My font is set to Times New Roman Regular. My color is set to, we're going to keep it at the pure magenta red. My size is at 72 points, and for a title that's good. And I'm going to click right within my workspace here. A new text layer is created in my layers panel automatically for me. And for my title, I'm going to use the words puppy love and click OK. Clicking OK brings me right back to my move tool, so I can now adjust this into the place that I want to put it. But I'm not happy, I'm not in love with my font that I've chosen, so I'm going to switch back to the type tool and change the font. I'm going to change my font to Impact, and I want my letters to be in all caps. So I'm going to change that and put it right in the middle there. Puppy love. I'm also going to change the color of the love. So I'm going to go back to my type tool and to change just the color of one of the words or even just a letter. When I scroll over my text, when I actually zoom in here, when I actually move my cursor over the text, it changes from the outline of the text cursor to just the cursor itself. And if I click right in between there and highlight each letter, it lets me separate the puppy from the love. I can do the same backwards here. So I'm highlighting just this particular L-O-V-E. And then I'm going to move over into the color picker. Now the color picker is at the bottom of the tools panel, and it has a foreground color and a background color. The default color is usually black and white, but if you click on the foreground color, it opens up a dialog box where, again, you've seen, just like with the drop shadows, colors, that you can choose a new color. So you have the presets for text, but you also can change your colors to any color under the rainbow using the color picker. The color picker box allows you to choose between shades with a lot of gray in them or tints with a lot of white, black, or pure very saturated colors. And the color wheel allows you to change the hue. So I'm going to stick with the blue that kind of matches my daughter's shirt there, more blue than teal. And then click OK. Now I can't see the change exactly yet because I still have the highlight. So if I click to commit my changes, there you'll see my new color, Puppy Love. And the foreground color is still in blue right there in the color picker. I want to create some journaling. So with my horizontal tool active, I'm going to click and drag to create a little journaling box. And my cursor is blinking kind of large. That's because it's still in the settings for the title that I created. So let's change that. I'm going to select my font and go back down to Times New Roman Regular. I'm going to change my color of my journaling to black. And you'll see that the color picker has changed in color as well, back to black. And I'm going to bring my size down to 12 points. And here is where I would add my journaling. And once your journaling is done, click the green checkbox to confirm your changes. With my photos added, embellishments on top of the quick page, and a title and journaling, I'm done with my page. From here, I need to save the file as a layered PSD for any future edits. Go to File, Save, and I'm going to go back into my folder with all of my layouts and name this My Second Page, .psd, Format Photoshop, Layers checked, Embed Color Profile checked, and then click on Save. It's at this time that you may want to save your file for web sharing, like with us at Scrapineers, and that's completely okay. You would want to review the steps for saving a layout if you wanted to share it with us. But let's say you want to print your page. That's a great idea. Meet me in the next video for lesson 3, and we'll ready our page for print.